So, good afternoon. I'm Fred Holley. I'm your host for Lifting Community Spirits, and I'm here with Kevin Delaune, the General Manager of Desi Vega Seafood and Steaks in Metairie, Louisiana, and the Heritage Plaza. Welcome, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
Terrific. Let me just explain what Lifting Community Spirits is just a little about. I'm going to be sharing cocktails and conversation with a diverse group of New Orleans and regional professionals. We're going to be discussing the status of the industry from their perspective, and we're also going to get their take on the future plans to bring New Orleans and the region to greater culinary and hospitality heights. So, Kevin, the cocktail you're consuming right now, what is that?
It is a Hendrix Jalapeño, which is absolutely wonderful.
Fantastic, and I have a glass of Markham Sauvignon Blanc, and the Lifting Community Spirits has come from not only us lifting this spirit, but in regards to lifting the spirits of New Orleans and the region within this hospitality and food service industry, because those two parts of the industry have certainly been hurt fairly hard. And so, Kevin, here at Desi Vega, tell us a little about when you opened and what you've done to try to bring consumers back into your establishment.
Well, we opened May 28th, which was a Thursday. We decided to wait for the Memorial Weekend to pass to allow folks that were still out of town or had plans at that time to make it back to town, make it back in time for us to get up and running. And it's been quite a success since we have opened up. Now, what we've done in particular, well, it really started with keeping in close communication with our staff. I think that was absolutely vital because we were very fortunate when we did reopen the door that we opened with 98% of the staff that was with us before we had to unfortunately close.
Right.
That was a big part of it. It made it a little bit more fluid and seamless for us to reopen with all of the new protocols and policies that were in place. Having a trained staff was absolutely essential for us, and
right.
It made it a little simpler for us.
Well, let me ask you, in regards to Desi Vega down on St. Charles Avenue, are they in the same situation?
Well,
have they been able to keep staff? Because Orleans and Jefferson, I know, has been somewhat different.
Well, I think that our restaurant downtown has done really good with it, to be quite honest with you. They've had more obstacles than we have here in Jefferson Parish. They've had a little bit more of a struggle with the business aspect of it. I think people are still a little bit more apprehensive because some of the restrictions in New Orleans versus Jefferson to get down there. But as far as staffing, they've done a really good job, and that's really attributed to the great job that Chris Sechrist does down there and keeping close contact with his staff members as well.
Terrific. So tell me this, what percentage of people that came in before this hit that you now have coming in? And
customers?
Can you survive with that?
Customers?
Yes.
Well, I tell you, that's an interesting question. It's, at this time I think it's very difficult to answer, but however, we've been very fortunate. The welcoming we received here was just extraordinary. People were dying to be back out in public, and it was evident from the moment that we opened up, and everyone's response. As much as we wanted to thank them for being here, we got more thank you for being open. And honestly, we've had to turn people down practically, well, not practically, each and every Friday, Saturday night. Obviously, with the limited capacity and the same amount of people in the restaurant, we've had to turn folks down, unfortunately.
Terrific. I know you also that you've had a storied history here in the food service industry in New Orleans. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I've been part of this industry for some years. That is true. But I spent the majority of my career with Emeril Lagasse and his restaurant group, with just a really a wonderful family, and had a really great career with them. Desi and I met many years ago in this industry at Emeril's, and we talked about an opportunity like this. If it ever did come up upon us, maybe we'd get together and have the opportunity to work together, and I guess the rest is history.
I gotcha. Terrific. Well, tell me about the menu that you have. Because of this pandemic, have you had to adjust the menu?
Not an awful lot. I think that originally we made some changes more or less based on shelf life in this business. You know, stuff that, you know, we can normally get a second day out of, and maybe not top sellers. We decided to move back on that. We wanted to make sure that, you know, what we had on our shelves was what we were going to be able to use and not, you know, unfortunately waste. So it was just a few adjustments, honestly. We tried to open up with the same amount of food on the menu, spirits, wine that we had prior to this shutdown, to give folks a sense of normal here. And I think that we achieved that, to be quite honest with you. Most folks didn't recognize the changes that we made. And to be honest with you, for any changes we made and anything we took off the menu, we put something back on.
Gotcha.
Something that we knew would sell, something that would move in an appropriate time.
Well, that's certainly uplifting for sure. So, in regards to what you've, your consumer itself, in regards to coming in and having a cocktail or ordering a glass or a bottle of wine with dinner, I know at least in the retail, the business has picked up tremendously because a lot of people are at the house and they're drinking at the house. When your customer comes in here, are they drinking
Absolutely
as they always have?
No,
So
they're not actually. They're drinking more.
More.
And they're being,
Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. And you just see folks dining a little differently, being, you know, more free with their spending, if I can say that, to be honest with you. You know, ordering bigger bottles of wine, ordering, you know, a different steak, more sides for the table, more appetizers for the table. You just find people spending more at every dining experience, to be honest with you. And it's in particular at the bar as well. You know, no one has lightened up any. We've had more struggles keeping things on our shelf now than we did prior, because we're learning now to be a little bit more aggressive with our purchases for the following, the upcoming week.
Right. In regards to that, for food and for spirit and wine, have those companies been able to provide
Absolutely.
for you everything that you've asked for?
Well, we've had a few obstacles, to be honest with you, because just as most, restaurant industry wasn't the only industry that got hit by this. You know, people basically shut down or somewhat, or cut back, put people on furlough, and that made it a little strange for us when we're reaching out to get our normal food and spirits that we need for the restaurant. But we've just adjusted to it, you know, and found a way around it. But when you do and you make contact, the right contact, things really show up in a timely manner, to be honest with you.
So let's just say hypothetically this pandemic continues till the end of the year.
I'm sorry, what?
If the pandemic continues to the end of this year.
Yeah, I thought that's what you said.
Yeah, that's hypothetical now. Let's just say that you have an opportunity to keep your base. How are you going to do that?
Well, I think, just as I said earlier, when we reopened, we wanted to give folks the same experience that they were afforded before the pandemic started, before our shutdown. And I think that being focused on the overall experience, ensuring that they're getting a level of not only food and ambiance, but service and appreciation more than anything. You know, a lot of restaurants and, you know, businesses are reopening, and there's a lot more for people to choose from. When people decide on us, we really truly open our arms and welcome them as much as we possibly can, and then roll out the carpet as best as we can for them.
Fantastic. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, while we finish these cocktails, we're going to have Dex show us how exactly to make this Hendrix Jalapeño. And I'd like to thank Kevin Delaune, a true professional in this food service industry. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Keep it uplifting.
You too, Fred.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, I'm Dexter, bar manager here at Desi Vegas. Today I'll be showing you how to make the Hendrix and Jalapeño. It's one of our specialty cocktails on the menu. We'll go ahead and get started. It's going to be fresh mint, 5 to 6 leaves. A little cucumber. 2 slices of fresh jalapeno, a little simple syrup, some fresh lime juice, about a ½ ounce each, and 2 ounces of the Hendrix gin. Muddle that together. Shake it. And strain over it. It's topped off with garnish with a cucumber and jalapeno. Hendrix Jalapeño.